I believe that it was the time that I tell my story and the truth. It is a lot of misinformation and falsehoods written about me, and I want to put the record straight, and people can learn some things that they were never discussed. And I hope they enjoy the book.
In a rare and candid interview, former First Lady Melania Trump has broken her silence, addressing the swirling rumors and speculation that have surrounded her since leaving the White House. Her forthcoming memoir, simply titled Melania, promises to offer unprecedented insights into her life, family, and experiences during one of the most tumultuous presidencies in recent history. This interview, her first in more than 2 years, comes at a time when the political landscape is as divided as ever, and the Trump name continues to dominate headlines. Melania's decision to speak out now seems to be driven by a desire to reclaim her narrative and challenge the public perception that has been shaped by media coverage and political opponents. Throughout the interview, she presents herself as a woman who has been misunderstood and misrepresented, eager to set the record straight on her own terms. When asked about her husband's decision to run for president again, Melania's response was unequivocal.
I support him. I know how passionate he is to make America great again.
We saw you backstage at the RNC. Do you want to talk about why you decided not to come out on stage and give a speech like you did in 2016?
It was my decision. I think was just the time. I think was the right time. In days before, I wrote a beautiful letter to America.
Yes.
And I think in one way that letter was my speech.
This statement not only confirms her backing of her husband's political ambitions, but also hints at a united front, contrary to widespread speculation about their relationship. However, her absence from certain campaign events has raised eyebrows among political observers and the media. Melania's explanation of her decision not to speak at the RNC, unlike in 2016, suggests a more nuanced approach to her public role. By referencing her letter to America, she implies that she is choosing her moments of public engagement carefully, perhaps preferring written communication over public speeches. The interview takes a more serious turn as Melania discusses the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, providing a glimpse into the personal toll of political scrutiny.
Yeah, it made me angry. Yes, invasion of privacy, and the way it was done I was really surprised.
And you told your house manager, just leave it, don't touch anything, don't put it back. You wanted to see it for your own eyes. With your own eyes, what did it look like when you walked back in your house that had been raided?
I saw unpleasant stuff that nobody wants to see it. And you get angry because, nobody should be putting up with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Some person, I don't even know who or how many people, they went through my stuff.
This candid admission of anger and violation offers a rare look at the emotional impact of high-profile investigations on political figures and their families. Melania's description of the raid as an invasion of privacy underscores the blurred lines between public office and personal space that political families often navigate. Her frustration is palpable, and it's clear that the experience has left a lasting impression on her perception of justice and fairness in the political arena. The conversation then takes a more somber turn as Melania recounts the harrowing experiences of assassination attempts on her husband. These incidents, which have received relatively little public attention, clearly had a profound impact on the Trump family.
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind. And something, I guess, looked over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet. Right. Because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
So you called him and he didn't answer his phone. and you called Secret Service. And what did they say?
First, the Secret Service was not available too because they were with him, right? And then after that, I got the Secret Service on the phone, and they said that he's okay. We are on the way to the hospital. He will be okay.
This detailed account of the moments following an assassination attempt provides a rare glimpse into the fears and vulnerabilities of a family in the political spotlight. Melania's description of watching the events unfold on television, unable to immediately reach her husband or the Secret Service, paints a picture of the intense anxiety and uncertainty that comes with such high-stakes situations. Her recollection of these moments humanizes the often larger-than-life figures of political leaders, reminding us of the very real dangers they face. Melania's perspective on these events is both emotional and reflective, touching on themes of faith and destiny.
I think both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
And he normally doesn't call for that one screen. He waits till the end of the speech. So just looking at that screen allowed him to turn his head.
Yeah.
And he said it was providential. Does this make you believe in it more, in a higher power? How has that been for you?
I think something was watching over him. I think it's almost like country really needs him.
That maybe God's sparing his life.
This reflection on the seemingly miraculous nature of her husband's survival adds a spiritual dimension to the narrative. Melania's suggestion that a higher power might be intervening to protect Donald Trump for the sake of the country aligns with a narrative often embraced by his supporters, the idea of Trump as a chosen leader with a divine purpose. This perspective offers insight into how the Trump family processes and makes sense of the dangers they face, framing their experiences within a larger, almost mythic context. The former First Lady also addresses the broader political context surrounding these threats, expressing concern about the rhetoric used by political opponents.
It's interesting how quiet and everything became, all of the mainstream media. There were a few days reporting about July 13 event, and everything then became quiet. So I had a lot of questions. What's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. The country needs to unite. And I encourage everybody to read my letter that I wrote on July 14 again, because that cannot continue.
In this extended comment, Melania expresses frustration with what she perceives as inadequate media coverage of the threats against her husband. She draws a direct line between the rhetoric used by political opponents and the media and the physical dangers faced by her family. This perspective sheds light on the Trump family's view of the media and political opposition, framing them not just as adversaries, but as potential instigators of violence. Her call for unity and her reference to her July 14th letter suggest a desire to elevate the political discourse, even as she criticizes those she sees as contributing to its degradation.
Well, how I see it is the records speaks for itself. The country is suffering. People are not able to buy usual necessities for the families. We have wars going on around the world. Soldiers are dying. They were dying under this administration because of weak leadership. The border is open and dangerous. A lot of fentanyl is coming over, killing our youth. It's very hard to see. And an economy, it's really not great. Inflation is high. And if we compare these 4 years under this administration compared to 4 years under my husband as commander-in-chief, he was leading the country through peace, through strength. And the border was safer than ever before. We didn't have any wars. People were prospering. They had jobs. They could support their families. So I think American people need to decide what they really want. Maybe some, strong tweets, but everything else great for this country.
Melania Trump's interview offers a rare window into the personal and political life of one of America's most enigmatic first ladies. Her forthcoming memoir, Melania, is poised to be more than just a personal account. It could potentially reshape the narrative around the Trump presidency and influence public perception as the 2024 election approaches. Whether it will truly confirm what many have suspected remains to be seen, but one thing is clear.